Welcome back to the Cb750 build. Moving on to the wiring now. So the bike is pretty much built up in terms of major components. Back wheel, swing arm, new suspension, front all built up, polish the suspension, for brakes, handlebars put on, all that sort of stuff. So I've broken the wiring down into 3 sections, and I'll talk about it as those 3 sections. So the 3 sections are going to be the ignition side, then the handlebar side, all the switches, and then the wiring of all the lights, indicators, and that sort of stuff. So as you can see, a major design change when I started the wiring. And originally the battery's going to go down into this little compartment here, but I toyed with the idea of sticking the battery in the cowl. So I was able to cut a small hole and fit the battery in there. Now the battery and all the bits and pieces that I'm using for the wiring, so obviously this is the battery, lithium ion, specific for the Cb750 from Cafe Racer Workshop or whatever it's called. Really good battery. Obviously I'm using all the Moto Gadget stuff, lights, switches, and the Munit. Yeah, it's more Moto Gadget stuff. Wire strippers, waterproof connectors that are really good on Amazon, relatively cheap. Push connectors from B&Q, really cheap. Terminal sets, finishing sets, Amazon. Black grommets for protecting the cables, Amazon. Multimeter thing, connector kit with crimps, and then the crimping, different sizes. We've got here the wiring kit for the Munit. You can order it, comes with all these beautiful cables in different sizes and different colours. More cables in different sizes, heat shrink in different sizes, and then the braided heat shrink Amazon, and the braided loom protector from Amazon again. Tools I'm using a heat gun, Amazon Dremel, solder, and I'm using an old battery with crocodile clips so I can test things as I'm going along. I don't want to use a new battery. Different sizes of cable I'm using. So I'm using this 4AWG, or what it's called is gauge or 4 gauge or whatever it is. That's from the battery to the solenoid. I think this is 8, which is from the solenoid to the Munit, and to the 8 or 4, 8 or 10, sorry, from the solenoid to the starter motor. And then obviously the different sizes of cables we've got over there, which is 2.5 and slightly bigger or slightly smaller. Got the wiring book for Cb750. It's in the Haynes manual, and I look at it and I'm like, what the fuck? But in all honesty, it's quite simple. So you can follow, for example, you've got your ignition coils, spark units, pickups. So if I take that round, I'll show you them on the bike. And then here is a simple things that I know what I'm doing. So there's the buttons. I've got left turn, right turn, horn, light, start, auxil. And what I mean by light, the light will always be on. It'll always be on, except high beam, low beam. That's it. The auxiliary one, which is something that I can wire in something at a later date. The cable will be there, and I'll take it back. But if I wanted to wire in, I don't know, heated seat, heated bars, what have you, or heat grips. I could use that to do it, and then obviously start. That one there is just me working out on the rear light what is the light and what is the brake. So yeah, so if I take that round, I'll show you the individual bits and pieces of the ignition system. So as you can see, the old loom is down there. Using the book, I was able to chop away the old cables from the ignition unit, and I was left with coils, spark units which are under there, regular rectifier, and the solenoid. So all these cables are original. So that's original. That's original to a point, to the connector. That's original to the timing side, and that's original to the solenoid. These two cables are for the ignition. So basically, like I've got here, spark units are under there, regulator rectifier is there, ignition, which is up here, as you can see, red and black, that's the ignition side of it. And then you've got down to the starter motor, wherever that is on here, alternator, regulator rectifier, yeah, somewhere on here is a start motor. Oh, there's a start motor, there's the solenoid, battery up here, so you can follow it. So you can follow earth, which is to the frame, which is down here. I just got it poking on the frame, but it's a circular clip. Red goes from battery plus to the plus side of the solenoid, and then there's a plus from the solenoid to the M unit, and then you've got obviously from the solenoid, this one, down to the starter motor, which is down here, which I've taken off because I need a new cable to make it longer, but that goes to there. So that's effectively the ignition side of it. Obviously if I touch those together, that would complete the circuit and the bike would start. There's no oil in it, so I don't want to do that, and there's no battery connected up to it. So they would go into the M unit, and effectively using the Bluetooth of the M unit would give me the ability to start the vehicle. So this is just for reference, so I can say, okay, where's my black and white wire? Well, the black and white wire is coming from the solenoid. I've got to bring that back down this way through here. You can see that I've used the braid from Amazon there and heat shrink the ends of it. That'll be nice and tucked away. And these wires for the indicators, I've just started running them through for another video. So the main thing is to concentrate on the ignition. So let me put the book down. So battery fits in there. Negative and positive terminal come through the frame of the hump. All the holes that I've drilled are all got grommets on it, so that the wires aren't going to get damaged. These are indicator and rear lights, so you know, just imagine they're not there. The little tray that I made, I've got several holes. So one hole is the pass through from front to back for the bike, so that's for the indicators and lights and that sort of stuff. Another hole here is for the solenoid, starter motor, rectifier, all that side of stuff. Got the main line coming in from the battery into there. I protected all the cable runs with rubber so that it's all nicely insulated and protected. So the battery just slots in there. I've left this open. It's a way for water to drain out if ever water gets in there, and it's a way for heat to dissipate. There'll be a nice flow of air through there, keeping the battery nice and cool. Okay, so this is the input side of the Mo unit, and this is the output side. So as you can see, I've wired up a cable already, which is the yellow, which is left turn. and I'm using the colour that Munit have supplied on their switches. So I'm using yellow, left turn, green for right turn, orange for light. So because I'm using what's known as the M button, Mo button, I'm only going to have one cable coming back from the buttons. So effectively how this works is I've got one button, which is this green, one cable, which is this green cable that will run from the Mo button, this, to the input side on here. So it cuts down on wiring loads. As I've set it up already, I've got purple, which is brake, blue, which is start, and orange, which is light, going over to that handlebar. And I've got left turn, right turn, horn coming over to this handlebar, and then obviously ground and coming back to here. Now I could run the ground, the black, all the way back to here, or I can mount it to the chassis, which is chassis grounded here, which is really good. I've cut the holes in the bars here, and I've also got the cables coming out the end of the bar. So this little Munit Mo button goes into the handlebar and stays in the handlebar. So all you should see coming out is 3 cables going over to the right handlebar, 2 cables coming out, coming all the way back to ground and to the Mo unit. These cables here, which are the indicator light, will run to the respective indicators and headlamp. Obviously this little wire here is from the indicator on the right hand side, so this will have to splice into the green, and then that will then connect to the headlamp. So the headlamp will have an indicator in it, and then a cable will have to come from the headlamp up to the gauge. Haven't got the gauge yet, but as it stands, all the ignition side of the bike is connected, apart from the switch for power, on off, which I said will be done through the M unit. Looking at the bike, yeah, so all these cables have to be tidied up, have to be cut shorter and connected. Bolts that are through will have to be cut shorter. It doesn't protrude massively, so which is quite nice. And all these cables underneath will be tucked up, zip tied on, out the way. Seat frame will go on over the top, and then obviously the seat over the top of that. Regular rectifier's got plenty of fresh air over it, so it's not going to overheat. Spark units as well, and any water that gets into here, I'll obviously mastic the cables or putty the cables so that no water can drip down them. And I've got drain holes in there as well. The M unit grounds itself via the holes that you drill through into there, and then you've got an app that you download for the Mo Unit Blue to connect. Hi Nave.
How's it going?
Come on, look. Yeah, so that's all the ignition side wired up. Solenoid, rectifier to the starter motor. I've got several cables from the solenoid, which I need to reposition. So obviously ignition, that's the starter switch, which I label before I cut them all up. So if I go to my starter diagram, my electrical diagram, so solenoid, so that's from the solenoid, that is red, yellow on here. What have I got? I've got yellow, red, so it goes from the main fuse down across, joins up with black, drops down all the way to battery 2. So from that I know that that's going to join onto that in there, I think. But yeah, so a quick recap. So just literally put the battery in there, run the positive and negative cables. Negative cable goes down to chassis ground, positive goes to solenoid. Mo unit connects to the solenoid, and then the other side solenoid drops down to the starter motor. Regular rectifier and the spark units then all connect up to the coils and the relevant places on the bike, such as starter motor and stator. Next video will be doing the handlebars, of which I've already started, to show you how the Mo button is connected to the switches, and then how everything comes back to the unit. Okay, till next time. We discussed the wiring for the ignition system, and now I'm going to talk about the wiring for the handlebars. So the handlebar wiring is set up via what's known as an M button. You can use this or you can choose not to use this, it's entirely up to you. But at the moment, a spare one. Don't know why I ordered two, I thought I needed two. I have indicators on the bar end, and then 3 sets of buttons, 3 on this side, 3 on that side. Now I've set them up so that it'll be left, right, horn, start, stop, light, and auxiliary. And the auxiliary I can choose whatever. As it's a Moto Gadget unit, everything will need to be grounded. So what's quite good is the kit that it provides you. They give you grounding points. Basically, this little unit sits in the bar, has to sit in the bar, and you basically have different colours for the respective buttons. So turn left, turn right, light, start, horn, brake, ground, and to the Mo unit. So the only cable that runs back to the motor unit, or the Mo unit, is this green, and that'll go onto the input side there. If I didn't use this system, then basically all the inputs would have to run back to here, and then the outputs would run respectively to indicators, lights, etc. So it just cleans up, makes life a little bit easier. It just means it's a one wire that connects up. Obviously the ground, so the blue, the browns and the blacks will be grounded to the frame, and I'll also run a ground back to the M unit just as an extra. But the really good thing with the buttons, the actual buttons that you get with the bike, is that, I don't know if you can see, but on the top of there is a hole, and these will attach. So these will all ground out up the top there. They've got a wire that runs to the chassis ground or the frame ground. that's for the indicator, and that's for the buttons, and then the cables which are in there, I haven't pulled them through yet, they will connect to the back of the Moto Gadget buttons. It doesn't matter which connection, and then that's the buttons connected. For aesthetics, I've used a bit of braided hose, run the cable through, and then heat shrink all the way to the end. Kept it a little bit longer than I need, just in case I need to adjust the handlebars. Obviously ground coming out and indicator coming out. That will sit in there like that. Push that all the way down when I pull the cables through. I got my brake button that comes here. Yeah, I got to put a ground from there to the frame. So yeah, that's really how simple the buttons are, and all these little connectors come in a kit, which you get with the actual button assemblies with all the connectors. There's a button not connected, there's a little kit, and there's the other little kit. So you just literally connect that to that, put a bit of heat shrink, and away you go. So it's really simple, the buttons. So once I got the buttons connected and I brought the input down to this side of the Mo unit, I can then wire in the outputs, which is obviously left indicator, right indicator, brake, lights, brakes, all that sort of stuff, and I can test them. So yeah, really simple, easy process in connecting the relevant parts up. So I'm just going to run a ground from there to there, through the handlebar so that the brake's out of sight. Yeah, wicked. I'll put you back on when it's all done, or when I finish handlebars ready for the rest of the frame. Thank you very much. So the switch is connected. You can see at the top, hopefully you can see where it's earthed, the top grounded, and the buttons go in, connected onto the back, and then the switch just presses on. So I'm just going to dress them, and then connect the buttons onto the bar, and then that's switch done.